Hi, I'm Heather. I'm a nutritionist and a GAPS practitioner, and today I want to talk about the carnivore diet, when it is appropriate, and how is the best way to do it to actually heal your gut and give you better health than you've ever imagined. So the carnivore diet, like I said, has a ton of popularity recently. A ton of people are getting amazing health improvements by cutting out plant foods. It's simply an animal food-based diet. People take it different ways. Some only have, grass-fed things like lamb or beef or deer or elk, where others will include chicken and fish, meat stock, things like that. So it really depends on how you're going, but I want to kind of break down what I believe would be the best way to get the most healing. So it's important to realize that all health starts with a healthy microbiome. Our body does not actually break down food and assimilate nutrients. It is our gut flora, the microbes in our gut that do that. And so let's say this is our intestines. We have this gut flora on the lining, and they create little healthy biofilms. It's like little colonies, and they actually take in the food that we're eating and they digest it and they create nutrients. They create vitamins, which is crazy. They break down minerals. They create hormones, they create neurotransmitters for happy moods. They really do so much. They even create enzymes. So it's really important to keep these guys happy because not only do they do all of that in our body, they also protect the gut lining right there. And that stops food particles from leaking into our bloodstream and causing autoimmune reactions or food allergies. So these guys are essential. We want to keep them super healthy because they do so much for us. Problems arise when we have antibiotic overuse, chlorine in the water, a processed food diet. All of those things are no longer supporting these healthy little gut microbes. So now we're killing them off, and we actually create an environment where sad little guys, wherever it is, yeast overgrowth, fungus overgrowth, worms, parasites, they start creating their own biofilm colonies. And now they are not protecting the gut lining, they're actually turning pathogenic, they're turning into a problem. And now all the food we eat, they are stealing the nutrients, and it's not really helping your body anymore. Your body's not really absorbing that nutrition like it was with the healthy microbes. So that leads to leaky gut, where things start going into the bloodstream, and we just get all of these problems. We get overgrowths of diseases, we get overgrowth of candida, and all of a sudden our ability to break down food suffers. And so I believe a lot of people that need the carnivore diet, that's where they're in that place. No longer do they have enough of those healthy microbes to break down all that plant food that they're eating and to convert it into short chain fatty acids and other things that are nourishing the body. So if you think about a cow, cows turn grass into meat, butter, all of that, cream. It's amazing, right? They do that because they have so much bacteria. They have multiple stomachs, similar to our bowel. So the grass they're eating, they have so many microbes that break it down and turn it into short chain fatty acids and that animal protein and fat. So that's really cool. And we have that to a certain extent, but when our gut flora is super damaged and we try to eat carrots or some fiber or something like that, for example, it no longer can break it down. Thankfully, we have things like meat and animal products that are already pre-digested by, say, that cow or chicken or whatever, where they're eating that plant food, breaking it down and turning it into easily absorbable nutrients. So that's where the carnivore diet is really helpful, and we see so much help. We no longer need to pre-digest all of these nutrients because our body's getting them in a super easy to access form. So the only problem I could see with the carnivore diet is that sometimes it can look like an elimination diet, where people aren't actually focused on healing the gut lining. They're just kind of focused on removing allergenic sensitive foods like plant foods. And so you can do that and your body will calm down eating steak, but you're not actually healing the gut lining and you're not actually recovering from the problem long term. Assuming you would like to have a gut that can introduce plant foods, even if you never want to introduce plant foods again, you would like to have a gut that can handle that and is at the proper state of health that it can really handle anything. That's my belief. So in order to do that, we really need to focus on healing that gut lining. So this is where the GAPS diet blends in so perfectly with carnivore for those who need it, is because the intro diet of GAPS, if you haven't heard of GAPS, you really need to look that up, or some talks by Dr. Natasha McBride. It's the only diet that I know that really goes to the full extent of healing that microbiome, okay? Because in this case, we're adding in so many foods, it's gonna repopulate the microbiome, keep all these guys happy, and create an environment really where you're not having things leak into the bloodstream anymore. So that is the goal. An intro is awesome because it blends carnivore, like you could do no plant, with all the meat stock and all these healing foods. So we'll go over that right now. Foods to emphasize if you're wanting to do the carnivore diet and actually really heal your gut and not just take out plant foods, but you're actually wanting to heal it so it recovers. Foods to emphasize when you can: egg yolks, if you can, from soy-free and corn-free chickens; raw butter, an amazing short-chain fatty acid, which actually heals the tight junctions in your gut lining. Amazing source is raw butter if you can handle it. Now I know yolks and dairy can tend to be very sensitive, like it's a top food sensitivity. So you can take your time, and if you're doing carnivore and healing the gut with all those other foods, it may take some time, but hopefully eventually you can introduce them, because if and when you can, they really do help rebuild the gut flora and seal the gut lining. Animal fats, tallow, lard, whatever you can really handle are really supportive to healing that gut lining and the mucosal layer. Meat stock, of course, is high in so many easy to digest amino acids. It's extremely gelatinous. If you ever have a sip and then you stop drinking it and you do that with your mouth should kind of stick together. It's like a glue, and it goes in, and anywhere there's little irritations and leaky things, it just goes in and acts like a glue and heals them all up. So meat stock is essential. And then of course, organ meats. People that have a malfunctioning gut and are drawn to carnivore usually are super depleted in nutrition. And organ meats are the most easily absorbed and highest source of nutrition. Vitamins, minerals, most of them, whether it's kidney, liver, brain, marrow, have 10 to 100 times the amount of nutrition that the muscle meats like our steak or chicken breast would. And those even have easier and more digestible nutrition than the plant foods. So these are really gonna accelerate your healing. All of these are. So finally, if we really want to heal and seal the gut, I suggest introducing foods that are going to rebuild the gut flora with beneficial bacteria and beneficial yeasts and other really good microbes. And that's going to rebuild the gut lining as well as the meat stock and all the other nutrition will. And in order to do that, you would probably, if you want to stay on the strict carnivore, I would suggest homemade yogurt made with raw milk, fermented for 24 hours. That's going to have a ton of probiotics, but you want to introduce it super, super slow, like a drop, maybe a teaspoon, very slowly. And then of course you could do raw milk kefir. Now, I also would suggest, if you can, if you feel comfortable with it, doing sauerkraut juice or something like that, because that is going to give your gut a ton more bacteria, so that eventually when you add in plant matter, it's already has all the microbes to digest it. Because if you don't know this, our gut flora changes, and the enzymes in our body, and even our bile production. There's so many things that change based on our diet. So if you take animal protein out of your diet for a season, your body lowers the enzymes needed for that protein. If you take fat out, your body stops creating bile to break it down, because your body wants to conserve its energy. It doesn't want to waste it on things that aren't needed. And so our gut microbiome, the bacteria in our gut, will change when you take plant foods out. Now that's not necessarily bad, but if you want to introduce those plant foods, I would highly recommend starting with a little bit of sauerkraut juice or beet kvass or some sort of probiotic liquid without any fiber in it to rebuild that healthy bacteria that can break down fiber in the future. So I hope that's all helpful and kind of breaks down the carnivore diet. Now, if you're thinking maybe I need that, maybe I don't, usually it's problems that are severe gut problems like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, debilitating arthritis, FPIES for babies, some of those serious food intolerances where people are having chronic diarrhea and really not digesting anything. That's more of something where you'd want to do the carnivore diet and be really careful with those plant foods. So if this was helpful and you're curious more about the carnivore diet, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching.